Jon Snow sequel leak reveals a concerning detail about the Game of Thrones spin-off. The last season of Game of Thrones is one of the most controversial and maybe even the most hated endings of any TV show ever. But yes, Game of Thrones fans are still holding out hope for a sequel that can resolve some of the show's biggest unanswered questions and mysteries. But a recent leak could be bad news for anyone hoping that the new show will fix everything that was wrong with the Game of Thrones finale. Join us in today's video as we tell you Jon Snow sequel's leak, which reveals a concerning detail about the Game of Thrones spin-off. So, is Jon Snow's sequel actually revealed? We know for sure that this show exists, but other than that, we don't know much about it. In a recent interview with MTV's Josh Horowitz, Kit Harington, who plays Jon Snow, denied that he knew anything about the sequel series. He said, "The only thing I'll say is that I know nothing about it." But that's not the end of the story though. However, Metro recently reported that someone else who works on the show could be the one to spill the beans instead. The British publisher points to the page with Daniel West's name on it. Well, it turns out that West was the executive producer of Harington's HBO miniseries about Guy Fawkes called Gunpowder. But what's interesting is that West's list of credits also includes an untitled limited series that's in development at HBO. So could this be the Jon Snow sequel? It is definitely possible, though it could easily be some other project. But the crazy fact that West's talent agents has already removed the credit from the site suggests it may be exactly what we think. And if that's true, it means that Jon Snow show is going to be just another limited series. But is the Jon Snow sequel actually a limited series? This is a bit of a letdown for anyone who thought HBO would follow up Game of Thrones with another epic show. Jon Snow's sequel can only do so much in 1 or 2 seasons, or maybe even more. However, the term limited series suggests that it would focus on the characters' adventures in the North. And this is going to be a one-and-done, one-shot mini-series, so it's clear that this is not a full-on, ongoing TV series for multiple seasons, and it's not going to be Game of Thrones Season 9, 10, and 11. Almost certainly, this is not a big story with other fan-favorite characters like Arya, Sansa, and even Bran. Even though it's just a mini-series, we're still very excited about the idea of seeing more of Jon Snow. And if the show does well enough, it might make HBO renew it for a longer run or start a similar miniseries about other characters as well. That sounds actually really cool, right? Moreover, Emilia Clarke recently said that her character Daenerys Targaryen might still be alive if her body got to the right witches in Essos. That sounds like a story we'd like or in face would love to hear. So what is the Jon Snow sequel series about? In case you forgot, Jon ended up as a prisoner held by the Unsullied because he killed Daenerys. Even though most people in Westeros, except for Yara Greyjoy and the Unsullied, seemed to forgive him for what he had done, the Unsullied would not let him go. Instead, a deal was made for him to go back to the North, presumably to the Night's Watch and the Knot Wall, though it wasn't clear from the episode what he was supposed to be doing. Sansa and Arya Stark told him they couldn't come to see him, but he did see Tormund Giantsbane and Ghost, his loyal, dire wolf. In the very last scene of the finale, Jon was riding through the snow with a group of wildlings north of the wall. But the fans who wanted to see Jon's story end with more depth and meaning were left out in the cold. Sadly, the only information that is available right now, according to an article in Hollywood Reporter, is that it will be a live-action spin-off series centered on the fan-favorite character, Jon Snow. Since Game of Thrones told the story of how Jon Snow went from being an unknown young man to becoming one of the most powerful people in Westeros, it seems likely that they will continue to follow Jon's adventure after he leaves the world he knows to live beyond the wall. But who is in the cast of the Jon Snow sequel series? So far, only Kit Harington has been linked to the project, which means that if the series gets picked up, he would play Jon Snow again. Most of the Game of Thrones stars have moved on to other projects, so it's possible that we won't see any more familiar faces. But guys, never underestimate the Thrones universe's ability to draw surprise cameos. Since Jon Snow is now living among the wildlings, we might even see a flashback to his dead girlfriend, Ygritte, who is played by Rose Leslie and who is also Kit Harington's real-life wife. However, at the very least, it seems likely that the Norwegian actor Kristoffer Hivju will show up since his character Tormund Giantsbane was seen riding with Jon Snow in the last episode of Game of Thrones. So how have the cast of Game of Thrones reacted? Everything surrounding the story of Game of Thrones is very exciting. We had such a rich show and there's still so much story to tell, said Maisie Williams, who played Arya Stark. I think it's really exciting, and I think that Kit is such a phenomenal actor. His playing Jon Snow was just like a cultural reset. I think that everything he touches is magic, and I'm excited to see what it's going to be, she further adds. Williams didn't rule out an appearance in Snow. It's obviously a very exciting prospect, she said, so never say never. Besides that, John Bradley, the actor who played Jon Snow's pal Samwell Tarly, also wants to be involved or contribute his part in any way. I haven't spoken to anybody about the potential Jon Snow prequel, but if somebody wants to send a script my way, I'd be interested to read it, Bradley said. Similarly, Gwendoline Christie, who portrayed Brienne of Tarth, would love to return and become a part of this exciting sequel. Brienne of Tarth is incredibly close to my heart, and I would relish any opportunity to revisit her. I believe she is enduring, she said. But one former cast member is no longer there. Emilia Clarke, who played Daenerys Targaryen, doesn't plan to come back. I think I'm done, she told while giving an interview to BBC. And all of this leads us to the best and even most exciting part of today's video. Guess what that could be? Well, we're going to find out what the fans' reaction about it and how they have reacted. So let's find out together. How have fans reacted? In the most recently announced Game of Thrones spin-off, Kit Harington will play Jon Snow again. Since The Hollywood Reporter wrote about the news last month, fans have shared their thoughts and feelings on social media. Well, we all know the ending of Game of Thrones was not very good, which made many fans feel let down and disappointed. Because of this, when fans heard that a sequel would be a character they liked, their hopes were raised again. Fans really hoped that Jon Snow would have a better story and arc. Additionally, fans also had reason to hope for a better story because George R.R. Martin was going to be involved in the sequel. Many fans were also interested in where the story might go. With Season 8 of Game of Thrones ending in a way that wasn't really clear, the next season could go in many different directions, and there are no sure updates about it as well. While we got to see many fans made guesses or story ideas about where Snow might go based on parts of the main series. But it's fair to say that not everyone was happy when the sequel was announced. Some fans thought that Jon Snow's character arc couldn't be saved after the last season of Game of Thrones, while others have some more to say. Well guys, that leads us to the end of today's video. So what do you think about Jon Snow's series? Are you guys excited about it? And do you have anything more to share? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section down below. This was all for today's video. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up to this video and we'll see you in the next one.